Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this workshop, for this session. We will focus on the experience and the feedback and on a question that we ask ourselves, because it is at the heart of the agenda of some of the information experts is how to rationalize protection tools to strengthen cybersecurity. Because as you can see in the forum, we have a lot of actors in different environments. So we can see that there is a lot of promises, but we always have this question in mind, which is how can we translate it in the company world in an operational way, working for different jobs, with different projects, with the will of the leaders to have this security to be taken into account and deployed. For this exercise, I have the pleasure to be Sébastien Pierre, which is the CTO of JAM International. We will have the opportunity to talk about this company. If it doesn't ring a bell, you will see that actually we all know JAM International, because we often see it in our everyday life. So it's very important and interesting to see this problematic in the company world and see how this cybersecurity is taken into account. A word about Trend Micro. It is a company of 30 years old in cybersecurity with 7,000 people, one of the specialists in the world of fight against cyber threats, also focused on understanding the cyber criminal, to adapt the different tools to the everyday life on the practical aspects, to have this rationalize between the technical aspect, the IT aspect of cyber attack, and also with the context in real life for the companies, for administrations and collectivity. So it's really important to have this knowledge. It will also be specialized with vertical entities. We have 3 today. One is a cousin of the Trend Micro House, which is TX1 Network. On the industry village, you have some demos with tools that are presented. Why? Because it is a dedicated entity to the industrial world, the OT branch with technical aspects. It can be compared, of course, but it's very specific compared to IT, so it was very important to have this expertise and find equipment that could relate to this universe. So we have a word about this with Sébastien on the industrial aspect. One is for autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, which is Technique 1. The idea is to understand the specificities of these new digital tools, mobile tools that are vehicles. All type can be cars, trucks, everything related to transport. And then we have C09, which is dedicated to 5G, because we cannot see here it's right now for the broad public, because we have a very good quality 4G, so it's not really something that we come up to mind, but there are a lot of plants and industries that will use 5G so they can support on the absence of waiting time. So it's really important to add this aspect too. Last one of Trend Micro, it's this knowledge about threats of 0D. 0D is the natural fault in terms of cybersecurity, because it is not documented by the protection solutions. So Trend is actually one of the coordinators of the main world platform of detection for characterizing the 0D fault, because it is one of the elements that cybersecurity people can have to act before the attack. And so this way we are the first contributor to the identification of this DoD fault, compared to some competition, which are very competent in their domain, but we can see that we have a specific expertise in this context. So we have history and knowledge about the evolution of cyber-menace, but also verticals to take into account the different aspects of different contexts, and then the investment related to the characterization of zero default, which is one of the structural elements and latent of this cybersecurity strategy. That's it for Trend Micro. So yes, I was talking about JAM International. I will now give the floor to for this session. This way, he can present his own company. Welcome, everyone. So, DM Group, as Nicolas was saying, you've seen what we are doing. We are a French group in 20 countries on 30 sites. We are an industrial group. We product presentations for products, for example, for Sephora. More than 90% of the furniture you can find in Sephora is from us. Also for travel retail. And duty free. So everything you can find in a travel retail. For whole stores also. For example, a PSG store, which is a concept that was imagined by DM teams. And the whole idea is to work on the global scale. We are present in Mexico and in Japan, all around the globe, with activities, IT activities working 24 hours a day. Also working, we are an industrial group that is 50 years old. We didn't have at the beginning a very IT culture, but the idea for us was to have tools that could help us to have on one dashboard the technical aspect and cyber aspect of everything that is happening on our infrastructure. It isn't very interesting indeed, because if you take into account this scale, it is a very good illustration of what can gather in the same company in terms of requirements. For example, very high-end jobs with a very demanding clients in terms of production. And we can see it's all spread out around the world with different capacity of production, all around the world. And I think this is why it was very interesting for us, because it is very demanding in terms of protection, of security, but we can see that it is not asking for the same thing that big international groups, so that we can see the big quality of management of cybersecurity. In this context, I'll just come back so this way you understood. Just for saying a word, we're talking about furniture, but also equipment, fake equipment in presentation or marketing and merchandising. So it is a very craftsmanship and industrial work, very well organized all around the world. I just wanted to add something. The idea is to protect without blocking the business. This is one of the biggest challenges we have today. Is if we want to implement a technical solution in France, we have to think about the local context. Maybe in China it won't work. Indeed, this is why once we have understood the context, the environment where you are working as a CTO, the idea is to see this plurality of the environment. And what we know about Trend is that we have this very complex environment with the cloud, servers, network, websites. We have the very diverse environment. Yes, indeed. Within the IT team, we are working from the endpoint to the corporate website. Yeah, it's very important because it is an increased challenge, because you will need to take into account all the security aspects. It has to be clear and accessible to the IT team, so they can know what is happening in this environment with, as I was saying, this plurality of geography. And the idea with 24 hours a day. For the exposition to risks, what we will try to do is to be sure that we have alert signals, which is one of the elements that can be pointed. For these signals to sometimes pollute the everyday work, because of this plurality. So it could be a risk to see these systems launching signals every day, all the time. So it could harm the work. Yes, indeed, the plurality of these tools, as you were saying, is a way that it's good to have these tools, but it's important always to be able to manage them. Regarding this environment, this plurality of threats concern all the different systems, and in the industrial world, the updating of the softwares is very important because we have cycles of work, we have machines, equipment, and are not very familiar with the updates. Yes, indeed, industrial machines have a long life cycles, more than the computers and the pilots, so often we have to have this maintained, and we have to keep working on XP, so yes, still working sometimes on Windows 7. But the problem is that if we update these machines, it won't work anymore. So it is a challenge in this cyber context to have these machines that are not up to date, but we have no choice. Yeah, about this topic, and we will see with the next session. We spend a lot of time with TrendMeco to meet our clients. This way we can listen to them and they can express their problematic in terms of needs. This way our product will answer to their needs, to the specific points that are not necessarily pain points, but sometimes there are challenges. And the 3 points we mentioned, we just launched a study of international leaders, French but also international, because it is important for us to have different point of view. If you want, you have the result of this study, which is available. This complete study with figures, verticals, and different geographies, but at the global aspect, we have a problematic to quantify the risk and see where I am at. Second aspect, not to have the resources and the staff to operate this cybersecurity politics, and also to be able to say that when I'm looking at my organization, even though everything is working, how can I measure and assess how is it working in the different verticals with the entity connected to internet, to the endpoints, users, servers. So these questions about readability is really important because it's important to have a clear reading. Yes, we are in an industrial context, so we do not have an IT culture. For the 2,500 staff working with IT, we are less than 20 working really an expert in IT, so we cannot have one person can be dedicated, say, okay, I only work on malwares or virus and etc. So the idea is to have a global view of everything that is happening on a type of environment, can be for cloud or servers, etc. What is interesting here is that we have an experience, and one of the conclusions that came out is that this is what we expect with our cousin of TX networks. We have a key that allows us to enjoy the short time period of maintenance with different lights, 3 colors, depending if it's okay with a problem or a problematic that can be managed. So this way we have the technical expertise fueled with the basis, zero-day initiative, etc., and with the knowledge of zero default. But also it is corresponding to the reality of the companies and the plant that cannot stop, and with management is only on a short time, because right now the question is not for cybersecurity. Just to inform you, we wanted to see what this looked like, for example, for an overview console and dashboard. On the TrendMeco stand, you will see this type of dashboard with the different teams, technical sales teams. This way you can be sure and to see that, for example, when you are hosting activities to third parties, it can also be managed through internet. Yes, once you have a trade engine, we can work with it. So if you are hosting your website on AWS or something else, you can be working with the agent to have access to the console, to the dashboard. And this way we can gather information that are a bit more precise with the updates, see different faults that can be detected. We have everything in this dashboard. This way we have an average risk assessment for all the assets. And this, it is working for different environments. It can be Windows, Linux. Yeah, for Jam, we are working on Windows of 2008, 2020, Windows 11, and also Linux and macOS. So it takes into account the reality, but also the plurality of the different system and environment. That is deployment. We can see it's working on a very diverse environment, a very complex one. That this environment, was it difficult to be implemented? Because, for example, for the different timetable, yes, we had a challenge in terms of time because of our antivirus, so we deployed 800 posts in 3 weeks. Sometimes there is one post we cannot work immediately. Sometimes we have different challenges. So yeah, today we have 1,500 endpoints. After 2 years of utilization, we haven't met any problem in terms of deployment. Not more than with any different tool. And the trained antivirus can really help to deploy and to the security. So yes, it is also important for the operational deployment because it isn't an additional problem to appropriate a new solution. When you have a limited team that you cannot focus on one specific aspect, it's really important to have a product that can be implemented quickly and effectively in a limited time. Yes, it's not a product that is difficult to deploy. It's very well integrated. It works very well with the classic tools of Microsoft, for example, for a massive scale. What can you tell us about this readability? Is it one of the elements of the security policy to manage the data of the tool? This way we can have this acknowledgement of the elements that were flagged. Yes, for Jam, all the tools, we have several tools protecting our servers, endpoints. We all have these alerts that are being managed with this tool. We are not connected to the other products. So on an everyday basis, it's only with this console. For the people on the side that do not have access to more consoles. Okay, so what is important is that we have to integrate cybersecurity in this approach of very concrete approach, because sometimes you're not an IT expert, or the more you have tools that can be used and effective at answering your needs, the more they'll be allies and actors of this cybersecurity policy. Yes, the policy of the group to deploy these IT tools were the idea that for all people working in IT, they have access to the tools, so they do not have the idea that we are giving orders and that's it. They are actors. For example, for the people working in IT in China, they are the same actors on the cyber aspect of the group than I am or any person in the headquarters. Is there a topic? Because I know that it is one of the challenges we can think of when we are talking about this type of topic. The fake positive. Is it one of the challenges you met or something you haven't seen? We have a topic of fake positive. We have a lot of teams that are working on this digital management and overview, and they can see a lot of fake positive, but it's quickly flagged, and this way they won't come back. But yes, at the beginning it's a bit frightening and surprising, because you see a lot of scanning and suspicious activity. It can be scary, but actually you see just the programmer of the solution that is spreading different images on the equipment and furniture of our clients, so it's okay. Yes, it is one of the things we can say. It's important to underline it because it shows that it is important for the companies who have some tech expertise are not blocked with this. It is flagged, so it's a good sign because it is an integration mark, but it does not block the activity of the clients, of the employees that are a bit autonomous. No, yes, for all the 1,500 endpoints, I do not have any business blockage. If if I had some, it was easy to take care of. You also implemented, and I think it's important because regarding this possibility to reverse, it is always important regarding new bases. Is it one of the criteria you are taking into account? Because this way you are sure that you can always manage this solution. For example, the antivirus was chosen before the SOC, but always taking into account the fact that the SOC was the target. So the product has to be able to communicate SCM. It was also for the reverse aspect. We chose this project but we are able to work with any SOC. We just mentioned it quickly. It is an approach that is very dear to Trend Micro because you want to support the problematic of the companies. So we mentioned the virtual patching. It is also an important element in this.
Je répète, le virtual patching, c'est l'occasion, en tout cas, des
functionalities that allow to ensure the security of environments that are not necessarily updated by the historical editor of these solutions. To be very transparent, I'd say that it is one of the points that made us choose Trend Micro in this virtual patching of the antivirus on the service. On the server, so it can work with Windows 7, for example. It was very important for us because some industrial centers that we cannot update the machines, they have to keep working on the same version. So we know that when there are security faults for some products, for the Windows servers, we do not let it open, but the virtual patching helps us to solve this problem. For the tools, would you say that this communication of this console, would you say it is a way, because with time it will set it up, and this, but is it a way to compare and see the evolution of cybersecurity? It is a way to pilot the cybersecurity of the company? Yeah, today we are following the trend and the risk index. Yes, we have this example of 61. I think that would be better to have below 40. But it is a tool that indeed allows us to quantify, to measure. It provides a tendency, a trend. It can be scary because, for example, Microsoft makes some jokes. But for example, if we do not apply a patch, we will see that we will have 10 or 15 points in terms of risk. Yesterday I was 35, today I'm 45. So we can see a trend, and also a way to justify on the management aspect needed resources, for example. To say, for example, okay, we have a fault here, we need more resources to still be in a good position. Yeah, for these indicators, what could be interesting for the companies is that we will have a position compared to different type of companies on the same size or in the same region, because these companies also use this type of servers. This way people can understand not just ranking the good and bad pupils, but also to have an idea of the position in the ranking, or to understand if we are mature enough or if we are a bit late regarding our competition, regarding another company of the same size, the same industry. So it's really interesting to have all this information that are, of course, anonymous. And I think it is really important because we can see it also on the time to see if there are some peaks. And through this platform, so in the idea that we wanted to make something very readable, very clear, we have also resources about the malicious activities. What would be the names, for example, under whom they are documented, and also we can see the different industries that are being targeted by this type of activity. Though once again, you can see that it is a pilot tool for the company, but also one of the elements of knowledge of the threats that can be helpful for the different teams. For example, on the world scale, to see if there are any trends, and to be less blind of this in this universe. This way we can see that the more we can help our community by knowing this threat, the more they can apply it in their own practices. in their teams, in their board, so they can analyze these elements that are online, on a few clicks away, very accessible, with different resources, references. This way, it can be a very strong element of appropriation of the cybersecurity topic. A few words about what's coming next. But what about the deployment? Because it happened very quickly, so the idea that when there are new activities, newcomers, they are naturally associated. So the GEM group is growing, not every day, but almost. And now for the integration of a new branch, we already start by deploying security tools before doing anything else. So this way we can have a vision of the maturity of the branch. It is very important. This process is very mature now. We have the cyber tools, antivirus, EDR, and then we see what is happening. So it is a way to uniformize, to streamline all these connected elements. Yes, and also there is an element of, we can have big branches that joining the group, or a small one. For example, the small one say, okay, so in this way I am supported by the group. And there is also a coherence within the discussions with all the IT of the group who have the same tool, speaking the same language. It is indeed important because for the specific element of threat, it is important to have documents from this platform so you can see if there are some elements that were found in the ecosystem of the company, or if some elements are being exposed, but also regarding the passwords, the user account, that could be problematic. So this way, having this separation, this division by entity is also very helpful, for example, with servers, connected element on internet, account users, for example, for the password that can reach a deadline or 2 weeks. It could be documented, so it was conceived, as was saying Sébastien, at the moment of acquisition, to have this big work of cybersecurity, or to help the company grow, but also to have an operational everyday life with all these elements that can represent entry point or weakest link. So it's really important. We tried with this tool to answer to this topic, or to this idea of clear and readability, and also to support your everyday work in your company, because this is what we wish. It is a living body with newcomers, new entities, and new jobs. A few words about working from home, remote work. It is a new organization and also a way for us to deploy a cybersecurity system. Yes, the idea is that for all these consoles, the trend consoles, we have our on the cloud, so they can be everywhere in the world. We can deploy this policy. It takes like 5 minutes, a few minutes. And for the mobility aspect, this console is working with Office 365. And it also a signal for, say, which is flagging if there are any connections that are a bit under threat. For example, if you are making impossible travels. Thank you very much, Sébastien, for this exchange. If there is any questions, please do not hesitate. Otherwise, we are expecting you on our pavilion and stand of Joint Micro to show in a more precise way all the different elements. But what we wanted to share with you, and this is why I'm thanking Sébastien for this exercise, because we wanted to show regarding a very specific criteria from a company with limited means, where you are taking into account all the different spends, we managed to answer all your needs with this plurality of needs. Yes, and for me, it was a first good step to into the cyber world, because this tool is very clear, but it also helps us to analyze what is happening. So it was a very good first step. Thank you very much. Yes, I can see that there is a questions. We have some lights here, so I'm trying to see you. I could understand. I have a question for Sébastien. For the deployment of this solution on your asset, did you meet any agented assets that could be related, for example, to the appliance of software, or if if we deploy an agent, we won't have any more the support of some readers. So now a question for Nicolas. If there is in Trend Micro a solution that could be implemented without this agent aspect, I don't know, maybe using a CMP or something else? We had some editors on the industrial aspect say they do not want any antivirus because if not, nothing will work anymore. So with the technician on site, I say, I just want to try. It works very well. When there is an intervention of the editor, we deactivate the antivirus. We are really trying to be rationalized between the cyber risk and the operational aspect, but the more and more, we can see that the cyber risk is more important than the operational aspect, and we are lucky because in the DIAM group, all the board is very well involved in the cyber and very aware of that it would be better to slow down the machine and predict a bit less, rather than say, okay, we cannot work anymore because of a cyber attack. I know there are also solutions for external agents. Yes, it is what I mentioned with Textwork Network. We have two solutions, virtual patching, for example, for depending on the technical aspect, and also this key that help us in a very limited environment to be disconnected. So this way we can have an analysis that can help us to have an assessment, saying, okay, we can manage the problem from the elements that were presented by the key, and it will mention the weakest point, the weakest link, and this way we can also work in a very remote regions. For example, in the middle of Amazon, we had a client to whom we could send this key, even though you have no technician on site. So this way we can be sure that we have this exchange close to the machine. This way we can have an assessment that is communicated within the basis, and we can integrate it within the console. So we can have a photography of the cybersecurity state with critical elements or not. But on the moment with this communication through different lights is very basic, but it's very clear, because for the people who are not expert, who do not have the skills or the time to manage this type of topic, it is one of the solutions that we found in an operational aspect, and it is very successful because we have a lot of satisfaction to our clients. This is why I invite you to meet the Trend Micro team and Text1 that can show you very operational aspect of this topic. Thank you.